Dune, Part 2 director Denis Villeneuve arranged for a dying man to see his sequel months before release, according to a new report. Serving as a continuation of his adaptation of Frank Herbert's 1965 novel, Villeneuve's sequel picks up the story after the end of 2021's Dune. The film, which stars Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya, has been a major critical and commercial success thus far. A new report from Global News reveals that Villeneuve ensured that a dying fan of the franchise was able to see Dune, Part 2 a month and a half before it was released. The man, who was at a palliative care center in Quebec, Villeneuve's home province, informed his caregiver that he wished he could see the sequel before he died. Hours after a social media post from the caregiver, Villeneuve's team was in contact, and the director's assistant flew to Quebec with Villeneuve's personal laptop for a private viewing. The man died only a few days later. Does Dune, Part 2 live up to the hype? Expectations were high for Denis Villeneuve's sequel. Timothée Chalamet as Paul Atreides with a head covering in Dune, Part 2. As demonstrated in the story above, there was clearly a lot of anticipation leading up to the release of Dune, Part 2. The reviews for the first film were mostly positive, and comments from Villeneuve himself, as well as members of the Dune, Part 2 cast hyped the film as a monumental achievement and an improvement over the original. The response to the sequel thus far suggests the movie has met or exceeded expectations. The Dune, Part 2 reviews are nothing short of glowing. The sequel currently holds a strong 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, with the audience score coming in even higher at 95%. Commercially, the film has also been a big hit, and Dune, Part 2's opening weekend box office came in higher than projections at an impressive $182.5 million. This figure comprises $82.5 million domestic and $100 million, a significant jump from the first film. Like the first film, the Dune, Part 2 ending leaves the door open for another movie, and the enthusiastic response to the sequel certainly bodes well for the continuation of the franchise. The success of the sequel speaks to the power of the theatrical experience in the right hands and Villeneuve's passion for the source material, something that is clearly translated to the screen. As evidenced by the story of the dying fan, Villeneuve clearly not only has a deep love for Herbert's book, but also for his audience.